I would like to start by recognizing that we are gathered and governing on the unceded traditional territory of what is now known as the Comox Nation. And we are always grateful for their collaboration and grace as we do this good work on their land. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Move the agenda.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. And there are minutes. I understand there's a correction to the minutes.
Yes, I think the regular council meeting says I'm present for the 9th. That was the one where I dialed into the committee of the whole, but then didn't stay for the regular.
So with that correction, there's recommendation to adopt the committee of the whole June 9th and regular meeting June 9th. Seconder, Councilor Barecki, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously too. And first up is temporary use permit 4693 Cumberland Road. Come on up, Jasmine.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this report is to request approval of a temporary use permit renewal to allow an existing automobile repair and service shop known as Hartley's Garage at the subject property. So just to give a little bit of background, the automobile repair and service shop has been operating on the subject property, currently zoned R3, large lot residential, where this use is not permitted under the village's current zoning bylaw. The business began operations around 1993. At that time, the automobile repair was allowed as a home occupation within the R3 zone. However, in 1998, the village adopted a new zoning bylaw which did not permit the use, and hence it became legally non-conforming. In 2016, the current owner purchased the property and rented out the residents while still operating the shop. The zoning bylaw requires that persons employed in a home occupation must include at least one person residing on the property. Since the owner was not living on the property and the tenants were not employed in the business, they were not able to obtain a business license from the village. As a result, the business was considered discontinued, and as per the Local Government Act, if a non-conforming use is discontinued for a period of 6 months, the legal non-conforming status becomes invalid. Following the loss of legal non-conforming status, the property owner applied for rezoning, which was not approved. A temporary use permit was subsequently issued, enabling the business to continue operations for a period of 3 years. With the TOP now expired, the applicant is seeking a renewal to allow the shop to operate for an additional period of 3 years. While the application does not meet the typical criteria for a temporary use permit, it is supported by relevant OCP policy objectives. The official community plan permits the issuance of TOPs in all land use designations within the village and recognizes that such permits may be appropriate where the use is appropriate and viable, and where it is premature to decide upon rezoning and long-term land use rights. In this case, although the proposed use is not temporary in nature, it is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. The property is adjacent to residential uses and located directly across from a gas station. The business operates at a small scale, and the garage is open only from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Importantly, over the past 3 years of operations, the village has received no public complaints related to the use. While automobile repair services are permitted in commercial and industrial zones, this particular business is the only automobile repair garage in the village, serving a clear local need. The current operation is modest in scale and has characteristic of a neighborhood level service than a large-scale industrial use. The shop's operations, as well as the conditions outlined in the TOP, remain unchanged from the original permit, and we've received 3 emails in support of the TOP renewal. To conclude, staff support the proposed renewal of the TOP, while land use designations and zoning are applied at a broad community-wide level, they cannot always anticipate site-specific needs. TOPs are valuable planning tools that provide flexibility to address the evolving needs of the community. This renewal does not expand the scope of the existing garage operations and does not involve any new development or redevelopment on the property. Renewing the TOP will allow the garage to continue operating for another 3 years, providing a service that the community has benefited from since 1993. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Questions, council, or comments?
No questions, I'll be supporting it. It's a great service and one the community needs, and given that long-standing history, it has been one of helpfulness in the village, the neighbors support it. I think it's a good go for me.
I'd like to move the council approve the
Oh, wait, sorry.
That was the nod.
That's-
Fully in favor, I'll move the motion with.
When you're ready. Councilor Syrian, did you have anything?
No, this seems fine.
So I just want to appreciate staff's work on this. I don't remember an application for rezoning in 2019, and I can't find anything on the website that says that we had a rezoning application come. I don't remember a public hearing. Like, am I just gapping on that? Did that actually happen, or did he? That's my first question. Sorry, I should have given you a heads up about that. While you're looking for that, I realize that there are 2 other service stations that are not legal in operation in the village. So right now, we are asking the only legal service station in the village to go through this process every 3 years, which is onerous for him, in order to continue to operate his business. And now that we have bylaw, we can enforce on those other 2 businesses. But this is a vital service, and as far as I can tell, the only concern around it is that the rest of the area is not commercial, and that there is an opportunity right now to turn left off Cumberland Road into that driveway. And I would suggest that the solution to that is to put a no left turn sign there and allow this business to rezone to continue to provide this service, because we're putting barriers in front of that, and I don't know what conversations have happened between the owner about rezoning. I think it's a lot more expensive, and especially now that he's gone through the top, this will be the 3rd, iteration of renewal or application. I'm feeling like there's a fairness piece that needs to be addressed here, and I'm hoping we can find out whether he did actually apply for rezoning, and then if there's some way a mechanism to move this forward in a different way. Maybe not today. I'm happy to approve this now so they can continue to operate. But I think there's a bigger conversation to have here again.
Now that you've brought that up, if there was a rezoning application in the past, I do understand why it was denied. If we look at a rezoning, I would only be in favor of if it was very specific to this use, to just open it up to any commercial use, where that left turn, for instance, if it was a gym and you had 100 people a day trying to get in and out of that space, it's going to cause a nightmare at that intersection. For me, I'm happy to grant this temporary use permit now and in the future, but I would not want to see that just generally zoned commercial.
Yeah,
for
and I
those
think,
reasons.
yeah, I think that's part of the conversation we've had in the past, like through the OCP process and stuff. And so maybe you guys can tell us, is there a way to zone it specifically for this one use outside of the TUF, obviously, because that's the mechanism we found to do it for now. Otherwise, it's just general commercial, and there's all kinds of other uses in there. Is there another way? Like, can we develop a new bylaw that's like the service station bylaw or the auto repair bylaw or something? Sorry, Justine. Yeah, you can pass it to Maria. All right.
So to earlier question, there was an application to rezone in 2019. It went to council December 9th, and council denied it in 2019. And then after that, there was the application for the temporary use permit. And then absolutely a site-specific zone could be created where perhaps remains a residential zone, but for that lot only, a auto repair shop is permitted, and there could be limitations on the size and the scope of that use. And the appropriate way for that to happen would be through another rezoning application.
Okay, so did we just not have a public hearing? Like, was there a public hearing too?
It was denied by council before going to public hearing.
Okay, so that makes me feel better. My memory's not that high. Okay, so there is, now we are ready for the thank you for that, and thank you for the background and helping with my memory.
I move the council approve the temporary use permit renewal 2024-01 TP application to permit an automobile service and repair shop at 4693 Government Road. Property described as Lot A, District Lot 24, Nelson District, Plan VIP 56393.
Seconded, and all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Next up, and there is an opportunity for questions after we get through the agenda, if people have questions on that. Provincial referral request for a notice of work for the Mines Act permit on Bevan Road. Come on up, Seamus.
All right. So, good evening, Mayor and Council. So the purpose of this report is to provide Council with information regarding a provincial referral for a Mines Act permit, as well as provide an opportunity for feedback prior to the staff response being sent to the province. The applicant on this Mines Act permit wishes to obtain a permit from the province to sell gravel byproduct resulting from the land clearing and infrastructure construction related to a subdivision on Bevan Road. So the subdivision in question, of course, is the most recent phase of the Achiano development just south of Beck Avenue. And the applicant has requested permission from the province to sell the gravel byproduct. And once you start selling gravel and sand, even if it's just the byproduct of development, in the eyes of the province, it's considered a mine. And as such, a Mines Act permit is required to do so. And just, of course, just for background for everyone's information, the subdivision was granted a preliminary layout review letter in September 2024 and a development permit for environmental protection in January 2025. So it is an active subdivision and it is working its way through our municipal processes. However, again, this gravel request is basically a side product, selling the byproducts from the development that will be occurring in the next few months. From a land use perspective, the property in question is not designated for sand and gravel extraction in the official community plan. So of course the OCP does designate specific lands for sand and gravel extraction. And it is also not zoned for aggregate extraction, which is what we consider sand and gravel extraction. The property is within Development Permit Area 1. And as mentioned, we did issue a development permit for 1, which is environmental protection in late January 2025. And this permit did identify natural values, including mature trees, foliage, park area, for protection as part of that subdivision and as it develops. This development permit only focused on the southern portion of the property, which, as per the map on the staff report, is towards the south of Beck Avenue and a small remainder parcel on the north side of Beck Avenue. However, this DPA 1 only covered the southern portion of the property. So when it comes to Mines Act permits, provincial permitting does supersede municipal bylaws. Even if the zoning bylaw and official community plan designations do not align, the province is still in a position to issue a Mines Act permit. I also note that Mines Act permits, as per our development permit criteria, are exempted from requiring any development permits. I note that this is an unusual request. Our bylaws do contemplate bigger scale sand and gravel extractions like the Lafarge or the Cumberland sand and gravel pits on the other side of the freeway. So having a permit come in just to do selling of the gravel from byproduct of development, admittedly, is not fully contemplated by our bylaws. So with this referral, what staff are recommending is that we request the province, when considering the Mines Act permit, abide by the areas that have been protected by our development permit that was issued in January 2025. We'd also like to request that the province hold off on granting permission to mine the northern portion of the property, which is of the remainder parcel, until such time a development permit and subdivision application is received. And that way we can hopefully capture some of those natural values which may exist, such as mature trees and green space. And yeah, those are my notes, and I welcome your comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Questions? Go ahead.
Thanks for this. Just a couple of comments. The math doesn't really math. Their permit is asking for 28,000 cubic meters a year, but then it goes on to say that they're going to mine 2 meters over the entirety of the property. 2 meters over the entirety of the property works out to 340,000 cubic meters, because it's a 17-hectare property. So if they stick to their 28,000 cubic meters, that would be about 6 inches of gravel over the entirety of the property. So that part of it I'm questioning. Then the real question I've got, I guess, is how do we protect our DPA? If once this mine permit is given, I mean, is it, we ask nicely, is that the extent of our our protection? Can we require securities? Can we, like, I'm just worried that once this mine permit's given, oh, we knocked down this tree, oh, the park that we're supposed to be getting is now an open pit. I'm just, if I could have some assurances, I would. I mean, I understand that they want to sell some of this gravel. It makes economic sense to me. But at the same time, I don't want to see like our zoning and our DPAs just run roughshod in a sort of backhanded maneuver.
And I think that's a good question. I think when our referral back to the province, maybe we can request them provide a security. Admittedly, I'm not 100%
I think that
sure.
refers before, actually. I think they made that request before, but yeah, should they?
Yeah, and ultimately it is the whim of, it is the province's area of responsibility. Now, just kind of thinking about some more too, like part of the subdivision process does have us doing a site inspection as part of this development permit area. So let's say in the event that the area that's designated as park were to be mined and stripped, we might have a control through the subdivision process to help remediate or protect that area as well. So that's the thing, is this is a unique case, whereas if it was just like a piece of land where they were digging an open pit mine, there would be a little bit less control. However, I think in this case, since we do have an active subdivision application in front of us and underway, we might have some controls through our own subdivision process to help protect some of those natural values.
Good. I hope so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that sort of answered my question somewhat. Just how it seems redundant that they're even asking us for a referral. Like, we've engaged with them before, and they kind of laughed in our face right at us, so I'm kind of curious why this is even happening.
And sorry, do you mean the province asking us for feedback?
Yeah, like our experiences with the mines people have been terrible. Kind of asked them to have people stop building or doing mines work, and they didn't do that. So I was curious
I
why they
think
are.
I think that was before your.
Sorry,
Several years ago, we
Yeah.
went through this process.
Mhm.
We had
Right.
purchase or traction with them at all, so I don't understand, this seems disingenuous to me.
For sure, and it's ultimately just a legislative responsibility of the province, so they are required to reach out to us and all municipalities, whether it's when a Mines Act permit is being considered in their jurisdiction. So it's just a provincial requirement.
So did we get a referral for across the street?
Deal Lake.
Teal Lake,
Yes, we did.
way back, yeah, 2023, that's right.
And we said no. That was effective. Anybody else?
Yeah, maybe a comment on Councillor Tyrion's comment about math, that might actually be in our favour. If you remove the overburden and then you've got another metre and a half to go, but you're only applying for a fraction of what's possible there, then if the permit is only given for a fraction of what would be possible by mining the entire lot, that I would hope is just, well, I'm hoping there's a statement of intent from the developer that his actual intent is to dig a hole where he's going to put a building, take the gravel out, use it, and leave everything else. Because I went up there yesterday and the orange fences are around the areas as they should be, and it all looks like care is being taken. But that's not really enough for me, because things can change, owners can change, right? So I guess my question then, if someone's given a DP, as he has been, so I was given a DP to do something, and I then went and destroyed something that was a condition of my DP, is the permit cancelled?
Right, so if, let's say, they've done the work that is not in compliance with the DP, like let's say they destroyed a natural value. So we do have fines for developers if they were to undertake such actions. So we can fine for non-compliance with a development permit.
So does that mean that the fact that we've issued the DP actually gives us some leverage in this instance? Because if an owner was then to mine or strip the land completely, then that we'd have come back because of the breach of the conditions of the permit.
Exactly, and I think in this case we do have more of a control because it's related to that active subdivision application.
All right, that helps a little bit. I certainly kind of like this map, you know, what I need. The map from the DP to be attached to our submission to the province to say, you know, and our wish is that this outcome is preserved.
Yeah, and I have the letter drafted on my desk, and I do have the development permit with the maps and all our criteria from that time as an attachment. So that will accompany the response to the province.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a like a form we have to fill out for this feedback, or can we give more? Do we have some leeway on what we give as far as feedback, given the conversation we've had?
Right, so the province has a questionnaire in the referral portal, but what usually happens is they only give us 30 days and the referral portal closes. So we always request an extra 30 days just so we can get it in front of council and do our thorough review. So what we've been doing and what the province has been acceptable of is we write a letter with all of our comments. So we give the land use comments, and then we also have a section for council to weigh in. And we do have the option, and the recommendation on the board right now is to receive for information. Council does have the option to give feedback to the province via resolution of council. So if there's some comments you do want to make to council directly, or to the province from council, we just need a resolution to do so. And what we do is then incorporate that into the letter.
Is there interest in doing that? You think it's valuable?
I like what Councillor Ward said about our expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I think the thing for us is we take a lot of care with our land use decisions and how we develop those bylaws and what we allow to happen in our lands, in our community, and we've not had success with it doesn't seem to matter what feedback we give. The province approves the mine every time, regardless. And so across the street, there is a massive mine happening that is removing gravel from an ecologically sensitive area. And they don't seem to care. And I just think we should include something that says it would be great if the Mines Act aligned with our land use decisions. So if we just determine that there's an ecological value to a piece of land and we put a DPA 1 on it in order to protect that value, and the province just goes, yeah, well, there's gravel under there, we're gonna take it. Then what's the point of putting that DP on it, right?
I mean, I think we should put it in the resolution. The Mining Act supersedes
Everything.
absolutely everything. And that's been historically, you know, they followed, they trump private property, they trump everything, so I use that keyword. But the Mining Act is pretty much above everything else. The only thing we can do is put it in a resolution, and then there's enough of views across BC. Maybe some in the future it'll do something. It's better than nothing, but I don't think we should expect anything to come of it.
Whilst I fully agree with you in terms of our concern, I'm feeling that this feedback is staff to staff, and the concern we're expressing about this is more political, as in the jurisdiction of the Mines Act or the behaviour of the Mines Act. And I just wonder whether it's appropriate to separate the responses, as in the response to mine staff is our concerns about the specific, and the response at the political level is our concerns about the nature of the act and how it is applied.
Right.
And therefore it's more a UBCM, as much as there would be any more satisfaction that way. But I'm just process.
But this is coming to council for comment, right?
Yes, so the initial recommendation is to share for information, for council's awareness, but again, council has the option to provide a resolution with feedback to the province.
So I'd like to provide feedback to the province that says it would be nice if our land use designations had weight with their decisions. Or that our land use, that we take our land use designations quite seriously, and we are hoping that the decisions of the province also align with that, because we've taken the time to designate this land in a particular way. And in this case, it's a development permit for an industrial project, and same thing, we want it to look like, at the end, what we've given this person permission to do, and not any more than that.
Would you like us to try and craft a motion?
Yeah.
As staff open to this motion on the fly challenge?
What response?
It feels to me like a, a where and therefore. Who's doing that? We're doing.
Do you want it to, in a particular format? Like, is there something in the application that gives us some indication of format?
There's no
nothing.
format, so it'll be up to council's discretion.
Instead of, without putting the motion on the floor directly, it's still part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Just maybe something like, whereas we believe our land use policies are carefully developed and carefully developed in consultation with the community, we request that this and other applications are considered in line with our land use policies. And specifically, for this application, the northern portion, mining is deferred until the development application is made.
There's no application on that piece yet.
That's correct, there's no active application.
I think you were asking, that was what you were saying. Is that what you talked about earlier? You referenced the northern portion in your
That's correct, yes. So the property's weird where it's the northern portion and the southern portion are technically the same property. And we received the subdivision application that's gonna subdivide the southern portion into multiple industrial lots and then leave the northern portion as a remainder to be developed at a later date.
And I think you said that as part of your feedback to the province, you were going to reference that.
That's correct.
portion and ask for it not to be mined until.
That's correct.
So he's already got that piece, so we might not need
Well,
it.
I think you reinforce that the northern portion is reserved until a future date, and the southern portion is mined such that the land can still be developed in accordance with the existing development permit. Something along those lines, getting a bit long there.
It's just very specific, and I think what I was trying to do is do more of a general, we have land use designation, but it's fine, that's what you want.
Or the outcome of
But
the
Seamus
site.
is already saying that in the letter in the staff response. So I don't know that we need to be that specific with our feedback. I think our feedback is more just about our land use designations are important to us, and they, like all the beginning bit that you did. Thanks for backing us up on our land use decisions, province, or however you want to say that. What do you have so far, Rachel?
Well,
Do you want to?
well, I didn't want to, that's why I wanted to put this out in discussion rather than trying to craft exact options.
How about that the outcome of the site, stay faithful to our original land use designation? Because, I mean, they're gonna mine in there regardless, but that they respect what we originally wanted for a picture for this site.
That's up to us to enforce,
What can we enforce?
but we can't if they alter it too much, I guess, yeah.
At what point is it abandoned from being an active mining site and goes back to a development site?
So what I think what you're saying is like, when does it go from mine back to development?
Yeah.
And I think the intention is like, as they're clearing, like, because they're gonna be building roads as part of the subdivision. I think what the intention here is as they dig up the overburden and the gravel, they'll be selling it as they go. And then once the roads are completed, then that's the end of the mining. So it's really just as they get this overburden, as they develop, that's the extent of mining. It's not like it's gonna be an open air pit. It'll just be, hey, there's some overburden, we're clearing it and we're selling it to a local firm.
So is it a moot point? It's not so easy.
Problem. Take a look.
So I think I can move something for us to try out to amend. Move the council request that the provincial authority considers this application in such a way as to account for our carefully developed land use policies and leaves the land at the conclusion of mining in the state envisioned by our policies and permits.
Second, all in favor? Thank you for that.
You did it? Is Rachel okay?
I just wanted to check the last two words. Envisioned by the village's permits and policies.
and permits.
Land use policies and permits.
Okay. And the seconder was?
Councilor Berkey.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Seamus.
Thank you.
I didn't think you were gonna get that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up is 2024 Statement of Financial Information.
Okay. We have to do some work for her.
Hey, good evening. I'm reporting on behalf of Jessica Hextall, our accounting supervisor. She compiled this 2024 Statement of Financial Information Report, also known as the SOFI report. And this is coming to you for review and approval today. So the SOFI report is a legislative requirement under the Financial Information Act, provides transparency, accountability, discloses the municipality's financial position, including audited financial statements, council remuneration and expenses, and remuneration and expenses for employees over $75,000. It also includes aggregate payments to suppliers over $25,000 in a year, and a schedule of the grants that were paid by the municipality. So the report reflects financial activity and commitments for the 2024 fiscal year and aligns with our audited financial statements that are previously approved by council. And there are no discrepancies or concerns to note at this time. So my recommendation is that council approve the 2024 Statement of Financial Information and authorize its filing with the ministry as required. Happy to answer any questions or comments you might have.
Thanks, Andrea. Do you have any questions, comments?
I've just got a few of the, just general questions about a few of the numbers. Page 61 of 95. I'm just curious, we collected about $140,000 extra in taxes than we expected. Was that mostly residential or commercial? Just looking ahead to budget.
I don't have that answer, but Michelle can provide that because she worked on the financial statements for 2024.
Those were supplementaries from previous, that's why you guys ended up with more taxes in 2025 that you put away. So those were, I believe I can't tell you what the breakdown was, but there was definitely some residential and some commercial as well. So you ended up with more residential, and then you also ended up with about 20 grand in 2025 from those subs. So they were like catch-up subs from 2023 and 2024 that hit in 2024.
Just a few more questions on this statement. Other revenue, we got an extra $1.1 million in other revenue? I'm just wondering what that was.
Yeah. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, fine. Environmental health services came in $600,000 under budget? Okay. Or is that deferred?
Nope, that's a good catch.
Yeah.
So that is because, that's because we're slowly lifting the expenses up for sewer, but we've been behind schedule, so we haven't been able to. So we were adding some expenses, operating expenses that didn't get used up because it's not operational yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So that's just kind of deferred then.
Well, it just falls to surplus.
Falls to surplus, but it's not really a savings because we're going to spend it next year.
No, we'll get the revenue again. What it'll do is it'll fall to surplus, then whatever's over your optimum balance in your surplus will fall to your stabilization, and then you can use that for one-off projects or that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Great. Then my last sort of question, we've got $7.7 million in investments and $9.5 million in debt. But then on page 63, it shows that we received $1.3 million in interest, but we only paid $300,000 in interest. And I'm just wondering how we received or is this not based on those numbers, or?
Yeah, no, so the money that we've received in interest is on all your reserves. So all your reserves that you've got about $17 million. So you've received interest on all of that. And then the interest paid is like your equipment loan debt. You just have very little like debt yet until you hit the wastewater.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I see, so it's, the interest received is on much more than just the 7.7 we've got in term deposits and things like that.
Yeah, so we have like, yeah, if you looked at I think your cash is like 17 million. And so we get quite a good interest rate on the savings because of that as well, for our cash flow and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic, thank you.
Yeah.
Those were just some numbers that stuck out.
Great, thanks. Anybody else? Okay, there's a recommendation there.
I'll move that council approve the corporation of the Village of Cumberland 2024 Statement of Financial Information for filing with the ministry.
Seconder? Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Andrea. Next up is UBCM convention meeting topic, request topics.
We're ready to go. So, the Union of BC Municipalities Convention is in September. I believe 4 and 5 members plan on attending. The opportunity to submit requests for cabinet ministers is happening now until July 2nd. In this report, we put together a couple of suggested meeting suggestions with specific requests to submit for council's consideration. Council is welcome to add others or not consider these. These were just brought up through council discussions at previous council meetings. Just to note that there's a bit of staff time related to these. We'll have to develop a briefing note for you before you attend in September, but we don't have to do that.
Oh,
As part of this immediate request, it's the brief request that's required before July 2nd. So council's welcome to discuss what they'd like to submit.
Okay, thank you. So the two there are the employment lands and active travel on the parkway. And then I think we had a conversation, we couldn't remember it, agenda setting around new minister of forest and trying again. Do you guys remember that conversation? Do we want to? I think there's a couple of things we could do there. One is, it's come up at the regional district as well, that for emergency management and risk management, there is a growing concern that private managed forests landowners are not required to share data with the neighboring municipalities. And that data would help our emergency management teams manage risk on those lands or on the adjacent lands. So we could do something like that, or go back again and talk about our watershed. Yeah, and there may be, I know there's some interest, so I reached out to the Comox Nation to see whether they were interested, as we've done in the last 2 years. I think we've asked a couple of years in a row now to if they want to attend UBCM with us for these meetings, and there is some interest with Minister of Forests for watershed protection. So I heard back, but we did not get a confirmation of that prior to this meeting. So we could placehold it for us and then add the nation if they're able to attend.
I think it's always a good idea to bring that up again. I mean, it never gets that much traction, but
And
sometimes
maybe
it's combining with KFN probably lends it a fair bit more weight to it, considering,
Yeah.
you know, in the recent treaty settlement, that their water was a very large component of it. So I think that's very worthwhile.
And can we add in the regional district if they want to do that as well? Do we have to do that? Like, do we have to list the people who are attending at this
Yes.
point? We do. And then can we remove people later if they don't want to? Or-
Yes, I believe it relates to room size. They have to know how
Okay.
big a space to book.
Because I think that would be more powerful if we did
Yeah.
it, all three of us, the regional district and the village and the nation. And then we can speak to the connectivity between the two watersheds, right? And the need for like, we have a data sharing agreement, because we've managed to develop that relationship, but that's not normal for everyone. Maybe, yeah,
Okay.
same notes, okay?
And what is this specific request? Is there a specific, for the emergency management, there was a specific request, and for the watershed protection, is there a request?
Yeah, so, request for data sharing, with adjacent municipalities. And I don't know whether we need to qualify it for emergency management or just keep it open as we need data, you know, right? Okay, and then, what's the other thing?
The watershed.
Watershed protection, and we would like an update on the Private Managed Forest Land Act review. Because doesn't seem to be moving at all.
I think we already need to review it.
A review of the progress report on the review. Yeah, and then the other one that's on the agenda is the Village of Cumberland employment plans. So I did speak to Minister Anderson about whether or not we should try for Premier or Jedi. She suggested Jedi, but I'm happy to request the Premier and be denied and back it up with it, if that's the route we wanna go.
If she thinks it'll land better with the Minister of Jedi, then that's probably where we should take it.
Okay.
Yeah. And go in and take our Bevins Lands report.
Yeah.
And ask them.
How they're supporting.
How they can support us, what,
Yeah.
yeah. How, I don't know.
How are we supposed to do this?
How are we supposed to do this when it's?
Okay. And then, active travel route.
Yes, yeah, I'd like to go and talk to Modi again about an active travel route, and fixing the underpass.
The underpass.
Just, if we could even get bike lanes or lights in that underpass, because that is currently the only route we have.
There's lights.
And people are using it.
And people are using it, and if we can.
There's lights on that underpass. Lights?
No,
No.
like traffic lights to stop people from
Like
cruising on there.
yeah, right, like just a redesign and a refix of that underpass, because that is the only current route we have, and the cyclists are using it, and it shouldn't be as scary as it is.
Yeah, and so that work has already, we had that conversation with staff, and I wonder if this should go, we have to do both, but I think, I wonder if this should be going to the minister. Or maybe the question changes for the minister, and it's more about, I don't know, how local governments can work better with ministry staff, maybe? Or we just go, I think the minister's gonna say, oh, we have this program, talk to the staff about it. That's what I'm concerned about, that they'll just pass us down to staff. But maybe we need to raise it anyway with them.
Yeah, I mean, I was it's more like just from a transportation perspective, that intersection is getting busier and busier, harder and harder to make the turn, more and more dangerous. And to enable active transportation through it and safe vehicle transportation through that, because pressure we can put to move that up. It is just a balance thing. Oh, already working on that, fine. We'll make the most of the opportunity.
Yeah, okay, so, but I think we can put the request in, with the existing concern, and then we can work with the backgrounder. Like, maybe we also do a meeting with staff where we talk about, because we could also, the regional district had done that work and how much that was gonna cost us to do that piece along, adjacent to the highway. And so we could bring that to staff and say, this is, ridiculous. But with the minister, we adjust our advocacy to asking for more money, or, I don't know, what. I just think we can do that, both those things. think it's worth going to the minister and just talking about the issues we have. And he's gonna refer us to staff or whatever. We still have raised that concern, right? And making sure that because when we did have that conversation with staff, they were like, we asked them, do we get input to how this underpass changes? And they were like, so.
We gave it.
Yeah. So, yeah, you might need to ask the minister for that as well. And the staff requests are later, so we don't have to do that right now, right?
The deadline is August 20th,
Okay,
so we should be working on them.
yeah,
Be thinking about it.
so let's remember that.
Then the last one, I guess, and I just wrote it down, because it just came up, do we want to talk to the Minister of Finance?
Let's try again.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
And the request?
The request is to respect our land use designations.
Just listen to us.
Yeah.
Please, you're downloading all this stuff onto us, and then you don't listen to anything we say. So, yeah.
That also could be them saying, talk to staff, because I did have a meeting with staff, and they are bound by certain acts they were talking about, and those, they have to have very specific criteria when they, turn a mine permit down. And zoning and land use and those types of things are not one of those criteria.
Well, there's our request to the minister right
There you
there, is
go.
to change the act to include, the land use designations or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, anything else?
Can I confirm that the transportation request is fine as presented? That's what, or did you want to add the general safety of
The
the,
Village of Cumberland requests for
of the
provincial
interchange.
action to design and build an active travel route from the Village of Cumberland to the city of Courtney along the Commerce Valley Parkway. I think so.
Yeah,
We wanted to
including upgrades to the underpass.
To the underpass.
to the interchange for
Yeah.
general
General
upgrades, safety
of the,
upgrades?
Of the interchange, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is realistically probably the higher priority because
Yeah.
they're not
But if that intersection is prioritised and during the design,
Mhm.
cycling and transportation is taking property into account, then that solves one of the biggest challenges for that active group. So,
correct.
Okay, so that was 1, 3,
Four. 4.
That's not bad.
Moody, Forestry, Jedi, Alliance.
Okay.
That's probably enough for us.
There's more of us this year.
Yeah, that's already a busy schedule.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so is that all the direction you need?
Would you give a motion for those 4 topics?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Motion to, request meetings with, Ministry of Transportation, whatever that's called now, Ministry of Mines, Minister of Forests, and Minister of Jobs, Economic Development, and Innovation, I think.
I'll second
I'm not making it.
You're not making it?
You're making it? You'll make it?
So moved.
Thank you. I was just getting the words out.
Thank
And
you.
all in favor?
Okay.
So now it's carried.
Thank you.
Unanimously. Well, thank you. Okay, next up is the annual report.
This is just the required, bringing the report back to council with questions and comments from the public after we've given statutory notice. We haven't received any unless we received some tonight at question period, so the report is just for receipt, please.
Move receipt.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, that's carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's okay. I was gonna answer Troy's question on the interest, or on the other revenue, did you?
Oh, sure.
Now that we're in the financials again.
Oh,
I don't know what it was. The other revenue difference is that we don't budget for all the interest that we earn on our reserves, but we of course earn them and they become other revenue. So, yeah, so that's on our list of things to figure out if we need to start budgeting that. 'Cause it didn't used to ever make a difference, but now because we have higher reserves, it's making a big budget variance.
So is
there
that
you
the
go.
whole other category? Or is that a
It's
fixed
just under
price?
other revenue, that's what it gets put under, and then we don't have a budget attached to it, so it makes this huge budget variance,
Yeah.
but really it's
It's
just,
just
yeah.
this money fund stuff.
Because it's other funds, it's not our operating funds, it's like, policing and like all these other different weird reserve funds. Does that make sense?
I've thought about it and answered my own.
Okay.
So, it's okay.
It's very efficient. Okay, so notices, motions, and announcements. Please do check the website to make sure that these meetings are happening at the time I'm going to tell you they're happening in case something changes. We have Advisory Planning Commission on July 10th at 4 p.m. right here in the Cultural Center. And now, questions. Seeing no audience members, we were so hopeful. We had 3. We've had 4 audience members today. That's awesome. Please come on down anytime, not now, because we're finished, but in any meeting, please come on down and ask questions. Anything online?
I'm just gonna check the video. We've got a bit of a delay, so
Oh, okay.
we might wanna wait a few seconds to see if anything comes in.
Someone's badly typing right now.
More chats. No, nothing.
Nothing. Okay, well, then we can take a motion to close.
Nope,
Adjourn.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Everyone's in favor. That's carried. Thank you, everyone.
6:30, I want to.
I want to stay longer.